The moment the nuclear warheads detonated inside the Pandronian wormhole, transforming it into a blast furnace of radioactive hellfire, Space Force Commander Frank Boyd knew he'd just rolled the dice on humanity's survival against a ruthless galactic empire. It was only hours earlier that Boyd and the rest of Earth's leadership first received the imperious transmission from the sprawling Pandronian Empire, a militant alien civilization that held sway over a third of the Milky Way galaxy. The Pandronian Emperor's ghoulish, pale-skinned herald had materialized in the UN General Assembly via hologram, haughtily demanding that Earth pay regular tribute or face planetary subjugation. Boyd, a grizzled veteran of border skirmishes with hostile alien races, had immediately begun analyzing Earth's defensive capabilities. The results were sobering. Even with humanity's technological leaps, since achieving interstellar travel in the 22nd century, Earth was hopelessly outgunned by the Pandronians' vast armada of world-ending dreadnoughts and battlecruisers. Their only real advantage was an arsenal of enhanced nuclear weapons, each one packing 50 times the destructive yield of the primitive atomic bombs that had leveled cities in World War II. In the frantic hours following the Pandronian ultimatum, the UN Security Council convened an emergency session to formulate a response. The pacifist faction, traumatized by the devastation of the Martian-Terran colonial war 3 decades earlier, advocated for appeasement and diplomatic concessions. But Boyd, backed by the hawkish North American-Asian alliance, pushed for an aggressive show of force. "We need to send the roaches a message," Boyd growled, stabbing a finger at the classified schematics of the Pandronians' transdimensional wormhole. "I say we fire a salvo of 100 nukes straight through the wormhole they use to transmit that fucking pay tribute or die horseshit. It probably won't even scratch their empire, but it'll make them think twice about rolling over us like they've done to hundreds of other species." The Security Council erupted into rancorous debate as Boyd laid out his audacious plan. The Secretary-General blanched at its brazenness, warning it was tantamount to a declaration of war. But Boyd would not be swayed, insisting that the Pandronians respected only violence and that a craven display of weakness would guarantee Earth's conquest. With no other viable options, the Security Council reluctantly green-lit the nuclear strike. As the Council adjourned, a pall of grim uncertainty settled over the ashen-faced world leaders. Earth's fate now hinged on Boyd's gambit. Either the Pandronians would balk at tangling with a species brazen enough to strike first, or Boyd had just sealed humanity's doom by provoking a vastly superior adversary. As Boyd headed for the Space Force Command bunker to initiate the wormhole strike, he was gripped by a rare moment of self-doubt. If the Pandronians called Earth's bluff and launched a reprisal invasion, Boyd would be forever remembered as the man who doomed his own species to extinction. But the alternative, allowing humanity to meekly submit to alien rule without even token resistance, was unthinkable to the fiercely independent commander. He would rather gamble on a defiant longshot than live as a conquered thrall. With a steely resolve forged by a lifetime of waging war in the unforgiving void of space, Boyd tapped his finger on the biometric scanner, authorizing the launch of the Loki 6 enhanced nuclear missiles. As he watched the holographic projection of the warheads streaking towards the pulsating Pandronian wormhole at the edge of the solar system, Boyd uttered a quiet plea to whatever cosmic forces governed the universe. "Come on, you Pandronian bastards," he murmured. "For once in your cruel existence, don't call our bluff." Light years away, in the opulent throne room of the Pandronian Emperor, the Herald Corvus was breathlessly relaying an update on the Earth situation. The Emperor expected to hear that the humans had capitulated, as so many other upstart civilizations had before them when faced with the Pandronians' military might. Instead, Corvus's ashen expression told the Emperor that something had gone terribly wrong even before the words left his herald's mouth. "Your Eminence," Corvus stammered, his reedy voice quavering. "The humans. 100 antimatter warheads have just traversed the wormhole. Our throne world's orbital shields are activating, but by the Maker, I think they actually attacked us." "They what?" the Emperor roared, his imperious facade cracking. Clacks and alarms blared throughout the palace as the inconceivable news spread. In 500 years of interstellar conquest, no species had dared strike at the Pandronian Empire first. And now, a bipedal race of apes from a backwater arm of the galaxy had essentially just declared war on the mightiest civilization in the quadrant. As the panicked warning bells echoed through the palace halls, the Emperor slumped heavily into his throne. It appeared the anticipated easy conquest of Earth had just become something far more complicated and costly. The humans clearly would not submit without a brutal fight. And unbeknownst to both the Emperor and Commander Boyd, this opening salvo was about to ignite a conflict that would reshape the balance of power across the entire galaxy. The Pandronian flagship's war room buzzed with tension. Holographic displays flickered, showing Earth from various angles as the Emperor's advisors clamored for immediate retaliation. "We must crush these insects," bellowed General Zax, his tentacles writhing in agitation. "Their audacity cannot go unpunished." But Corvus, the Emperor's trusted herald, raised a hand for silence. "Your Eminence, if I may. The humans have displayed technological capabilities far beyond our initial assessment. A hasty invasion could prove costly." The Emperor's compound eyes narrowed. "Explain." "Their nuclear strike through our wormhole was unprecedented. No species has ever dared such a move. I propose a covert mission to gather intelligence before we commit our forces." After a moment of consideration, the Emperor nodded. "Very well, Corvus. You will lead this mission personally." On Earth, Frank Boyd found himself thrust into the spotlight. News channels blared his name and face constantly. "Hero Commander strikes back at alien menace." The attention made him uncomfortable, but he had no time for interviews or accolades. In a secure bunker beneath the Rocky Mountains, Boyd pored over grainy images of Pandronian ships. "What's our assessment of their shielding technology?" he asked the assembled team of Earth's top minds. Dr. Amelia Chen, a brilliant physicist, pointed to a complex diagram. "Based on the energy readings we detected, their shields likely use a form of quantum entanglement. Impressive, but not impenetrable." Boyd nodded grimly. "Good. We need to find every weakness we can. The Pandronians won't stay quiet for long." Meanwhile, a nondescript human male with brown hair and unremarkable features stepped off a bus in Washington, D.C. It was Corvus, his true alien form hidden by cutting-edge holographic tech. He breathed in the unfamiliar air, observing the bustling crowds around him. Over the next weeks, Corvus infiltrated various levels of human society. He marveled at the persistence of street vendors, the fierce debates in coffee shops, and the relentless pace of human life. In a high-security military lab, he witnessed an AI system adapting to complex scenarios faster than any Pandronian computer. "Fascinating," he muttered, careful to maintain his cover as a low-level technician. The pivotal moment came at a military conference in Virginia. Corvus, posing as a journalist, watched Commander Boyd take the stage. The human's voice carried a quiet strength as he addressed the crowd. "We face an enemy unlike any we've encountered," Boyd said, "but humanity has always risen to meet impossible odds. We will not go quietly into the night. We will fight, we will adapt, and we will survive." Corvus felt an unexpected twinge of respect. This human spoke with a conviction that reminded him of the great Pandronian leaders of old. It was unsettling. As Boyd finished his speech, alarms blared throughout the conference center. An aide rushed to the commander's side, whispering urgently. Boyd's face hardened as he turned back to the microphone. "Ladies and gentlemen, we've just detected a fleet of Pandronian warships entering Earth orbit. It appears they've established a blockade around our planet. The next phase of this conflict has begun." Corvus slipped away in the ensuing chaos, his mind racing. He needed to report back to the Emperor, but found himself conflicted. These humans were more complex, more capable than he'd ever imagined. As he made his way to his hidden ship, he couldn't shake the feeling that this conflict would reshape the galaxy in ways no one could predict. Corvus stood in the bustling streets of New York City, his holographic disguise blending seamlessly with the crowd. He watched as humans rushed about their daily lives, seemingly oblivious to the cosmic threat looming over them. Yet, in their actions, he saw something that both fascinated and unnerved him: an unbreakable spirit. In a nearby research facility, Corvus observed Earth scientists working tirelessly on what appeared to be advanced AI systems. Their progress was astounding, far outpacing what the Pandronian intelligence reports had suggested. As he eavesdropped on their conversations, he caught snippets about breakthroughs in nuclear fusion and quantum computing. "We've done it!" one scientist exclaimed, her eyes alight with excitement. "The AI's processing power has increased tenfold." Corvus slipped away, his mind racing. He needed to report this to the Emperor immediately. Back on the Pandronian throne world, Corvus stood before the Emperor, his holographic disguise shed. "Your Eminence," Corvus began, "the humans are not what we expected. Their technological advancements, especially in AI and weaponry, are progressing at an alarming rate. Their unpredictability and sheer tenacity make them a significant threat." The Emperor's eyes narrowed. "Are you suggesting we delay our conquest, Corvus, over a bunch of primitive apes?" "I merely advise caution, Your Eminence. These humans—" "Enough!" the Emperor roared, rising from his throne. "I will not be made a fool of by some backwater species. The blockade fleet will commence orbital bombardment immediately. We will crush their spirit and force their unconditional surrender." As Corvus bowed and retreated, he couldn't shake the feeling that they were underestimating their adversary. On Earth, the first Pandronian plasma bombs lit up the sky like hellish fireworks. Frank Boyd stood in the UN command center, his face illuminated by the glow of multiple screens showing cities under attack. "Status report," Boyd barked. A young lieutenant responded, her voice shaking. "New York, London, Beijing, and Tokyo are all reporting heavy casualties, sir. Our defenses are barely making a dent in their shields." Boyd hit his fist on the console. "Damn it! We need something, anything to turn the tide." Dr. Chen approached, her lab coat singed and her face streaked with soot. "Commander, I may have a solution. Our experimental AI system, Cerebrus. It's not fully tested, but it might be our only shot at hacking their systems." Boyd looked at her, hope and desperation warring in his eyes. "Do it." For weeks, Boyd barely left the underground lab where Dr. Chen and her team worked feverishly on Cerebrus. He watched as they coded, debugged, and pushed the AI to its limits. Finally, Dr. Chen looked up from her terminal, exhaustion etched on her face. "It's ready, Commander." Boyd nodded grimly. "Initiate Cerebrus." The AI sprang to life, its digital tendrils reaching out across space, probing the Pandronian network. At first, nothing seemed to happen. Then, suddenly, alarms blared. "Sir!" a technician shouted. "The Pandronian ships! They're firing on each other!" Boyd watched in awe as the blockading fleet's weapons turned inward, their formidable firepower now a liability. Pandronian ships exploded in brilliant flashes, their own plasma bombs tearing through their hulls. As the remnants of the once mighty fleet retreated in disarray, a cheer went up in the command center. But Boyd remained silent, his eyes fixed on the screens. He knew this was a long way to go. Light years away, the Pandronian Emperor raged in his throne room, smashing delicate instruments in his fury. "Assemble the War Council," he snarled to a cowering aide. "We will crush these humans ourselves. Prepare for a full-scale ground invasion. Earth will burn for this humiliation." As the Emperor's fury echoed through the palace, the gears of the vast Pandronian war machine began to turn, setting course for Earth. The Pandronian Emperor stood before a massive holographic display, his compound eyes gleaming with malice as he surveyed the countless ships of his invasion fleet. Corvus approached, his steps hesitant but determined. "Your Eminence, I implore you to reconsider this course of action," Corvus said, his voice low but urgent. "The humans have repeatedly shown their ability to turn the tables on us, their unpredictability." "Silence!" the Emperor roared, whirling to face his once trusted advisor. "Your cowardice disgusts me, Corvus. These primitive apes got lucky once. They will not stand against the full might of our empire." Corvus persisted. "But sire, their AI technology alone—" The Emperor's tentacles lashed out, striking Corvus across the face. "I've heard enough. You are stripped of your rank and exiled to the homeworld. Guards, remove this traitor from my sight." As Corvus was dragged away, he caught a final glimpse of the invasion fleet on the display. His mind raced with plans, even as he was thrown onto a transport ship bound for the homeworld. On Earth, Commander Frank Boyd stood in the heart of the Cerberus Control Center, surrounded by banks of humming servers and frantic technicians. Dr. Chen approached, her face grim. "Commander, the deep space scans are in," she said, pulling up a holographic display. It's worse than we thought." Boyd's eyes widened as he took in the sheer scale of the Pandronian armada. "How many?" "Over 1 million assault vehicles and troop transports," Dr. Chen replied, her voice barely above a whisper. "Our conventional defenses won't stand a chance." Boyd's expression resolute as he processed the information. He turned to the assembled team, his voice steady despite the weight of his next words. "We need to divert all nuclear production. Every warhead we have, every gram of fissile material, it all goes into one massive payload." Gasps and murmurs rippled through the room. General Hawkins stepped forward, his face red with anger. "You can't be serious, Boyd. That's our entire nuclear deterrent." "It's our only shot," Boyd countered, pulling up schematics of a sleek interstellar probe. "We'll hijack the XR-7 prototype, load it with the payload, and send it straight to the Pandronian homeworld." The room erupted into chaos as advisors and military officials argued vehemently. Boyd smacked his fist on the console, silencing the room. "I know it's extreme, but look at those scans. We're facing extinction here. This gives us a chance to take out their leadership in one stroke." Hours of heated debate followed, but as reports of the approaching Pandronian fleet continued to pour in, resistance to Boyd's plan crumbled. With grudging approval from Earth's Council, the operation began. In a hardened facility deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, Boyd watched as technicians carefully loaded the massive nuclear payload into the XR-7's cargo bay. The probe's stealth systems hummed to life, masking its energy signature. "Launch sequence initiated," a technician called out. Boyd held his breath as the probe rocketed skyward, slipping past the Pandronian blockade undetected. Cerberus's processors worked at lightning speed, calculating the optimal trajectory to slingshot the probe across vast interstellar distances. As the AI confirmed the launch's success, a cheer went up in the control room. Boyd allowed himself a small smile, but he knew the real battle was not nearly finished. Light years away, on the Pandronian homeworld, Corvus moved through shadowy corridors, meeting with dissident factions in secret. He spoke in hushed tones of the Emperor's foolishness, of the danger posed by underestimating the humans. Just as Corvus began to make headway with a group of high-ranking military officers, an aide burst into the room, face pale with shock. "We've intercepted a transmission," the aide gasped. "The humans, they've launched some kind of weapon. It's headed straight for us." Corvus felt a chill run down his spine. The humans had made their move, and now the fate of two civilizations hung in the balance. Corvus hunched over a holographic display, his compound eyes scanning the intercepted transmission. The data scrolled rapidly, revealing the trajectory of Earth's nuclear payload. His antennae twitched as the implications sank in. "By the Emperor's crown," he muttered, mandibles clicking in agitation. "This could annihilate millions." He turned to his rebel compatriots, their alien features etched with concern. "We must act now. The fate of our people hangs in the balance." Corvus's claws danced over the control panel, inputting complex encryption codes. He took a deep breath, steeling himself for what came next. The message to the Emperor flashed on the screen. "Your Eminence, recall the invasion force and open ceasefire talks with Earth immediately. Failure to comply will result in me alerting our people to the inbound human doomsday weapon. The choice is yours." Corvus hit send, his heart racing. Minutes stretched into hours as they waited for a response. Finally, the comm panel lit up. The Emperor's face appeared, contorted with rage. "You dare threaten me, traitor!" he snarled. "Your bluffs mean nothing." Corvus stood his ground. "This is no bluff, Your Eminence. Check the deep space scans. The human weapon approaches as we speak." The Emperor's eyes narrowed, but Corvus detected a flicker of doubt. He pressed his advantage, transmitting corroborating data directly to the Imperial War Room. Alarms blared in the background of the Emperor's transmission. Panicked voices rose in pitch as the full scope of the threat became clear. The Emperor's face paled, his bravado crumbling. "Very well," he growled. "We will open talks with the humans." Aboard the Pandronian diplomatic vessel, Commander Frank Boyd stood perfectly upright, flanked by Earth's delegation. The air felt thick with tension as they waited for the Emperor to arrive. The doors hissed open. The Pandronian ruler entered, his massive frame dwarfing the humans. His eyes locked onto Frank's, filled with barely contained fury. "Speak, human," the Emperor rumbled. "Explain why we shouldn't crush your pathetic world right now." Frank stepped forward, his voice steady. "Your Excellency, we stand on the brink of mutual annihilation. Our weapon is capable of devastating your homeworld, but we offer you a chance to avoid this catastrophe." The Emperor sneered. "You expect me to believe—" A holographic display flickered to life, cutting him off. Corvus's face appeared, his voice urgent. "Your Eminence, our intelligence has confirmed the human weapon's location and projected impact site. We have minutes, not hours, to act." The Emperor's tentacles writhed in agitation. He turned back to Frank, eyes blazing. "You leave me no choice, human. What are your terms?" Frank laid out the conditions: a complete withdrawal of Pandronian forces, an end to the blockade, and Earth's continued independence. In return, they would recall the nuclear payload and allow Pandronian oversight of their weapons development. The Emperor's face contorted with rage, but he nodded curtly. "Agreed. But know this, human. If you ever threaten us again, we will wipe your species from existence." Frank met the Emperor's gaze unflinchingly. Understood. As the human delegation prepared to depart, Frank caught Corvus's eye on the holographic display. A moment of unspoken understanding passed between them. They had averted disaster, but at what cost? Frank boarded the shuttle back to Earth, his mind racing. They had bought time, but he knew the real challenge was just beginning. The Pandronians would be watching their every move, waiting for any excuse to finish what they started.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.